Assalamu alaikum. Study on the impact of COVID-19 on employees' work attitude. Will we have the same employees in hospitality after all? Welcome you all. This is Muhammad Tareek-ul-Islam Khan, and I would like to thank my course instructor, Ms. Farhana Firdousi Miss, for giving me the opportunity to present on this topic. The main topic: global pandemic, impact on economy, and hospitality industry overall. The adverse impact of COVID-19 pandemic can be observed in almost every economic sector of more or less, but the tourism sector undoubtedly top of the list. Before the pandemic, the global tourism sector was growing significantly, but after that, while aeroplanes being grounded and the luxury hotels being turned into ghost town, the travel and tourism sector has been greatly affected. The sector that accounted for 10.3% of the global GDP in 2019 has been faced the punishing impact of COVID-19 due to banned travel and restricted flights. According to the United Nations World Tourism Organization, 96% of the global tourism destinations have closed their border completely or partially. The aim of the study was to test how different effect of COVID-19 expressed through job insecurity, employee health complaints occurred during isolation, risk-taking behavior at workplace, and changes in the organization may impact work-related attitude in hospitality industry. Based on the data collected from 624 hospitality workers from Siberia, the result indicates that job insecurity and changes in the organization were predictor of all the outcomes. Also, the theoretical and practical implications were discussed with the reference of the significance of demographic characteristics as control variable showed that age and marital status had significant impact on job motivation and turnover intention. The second slide, the introduction. What is this coronavirus? Coronavirus is a kind of common virus that causes an infection in our nose, sinuses, and upper throats. Most coronaviruses aren't dangerous. In early 2020, after December 2019 outbreak in China, the World Health Organization identified SARS-CoV-2 as a new type of coronavirus. The outbreak quickly spread all around the world. COVID-19 is a disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 that can trigger what doctors call a respiratory tract infection. It can affect our upper respiratory tract, that means sinuses, nose or throat, or lower respiratory tract, that means windpipe and lungs. The second point, how does coronavirus spread? It spread mainly through person-to-person contact, droplets or aerosol, airborne transmission or surface transmission. Person-to-person transmission is the main source for transferring the coronavirus. Droplet or aerosol, that means when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks, droplets or tiny particles called aerosol carried the virus into the air. The airborne transmission, research shows that the virus can live in the air for up to 3 hours. It can get into anyone's lungs if anyone were there. Surface transmission. The surface transmission is kind of the thing if the viruses are staying in a surface, and if anyone touch the surface, it can transfer from there also. The third point, hospitality industry during pandemic. COVID-19 has changed the whole world in just a few months, leaving long-lasting effects on the global economy and each individual. The first case were reported in Wuhan, China in December 2019, and on 15th June 2020, more than 3.6 million people were marked as active cases with infection in over 200 countries. Job security, unemployment, and health risk were marked as the most serious consequences of the global travel. After the pandemic was declared globally, over 90% of the world population had to face with a lot of restriction, including international and domestic travel bans. In just a few weeks, something unimaginable happened. Destination dealing with over tourism became destination dealing without tourism. Empty city centers, empty cities, beaches, museums cancel all the flight, event, and travel arrangements. As a as a direct consequences of COVID-19, the World Health Organization and the World Travel and Tourism Council warned that 50 million jobs in the global hospitality industry may be at risk. Theoretical framework. The first theoretical framework was the impact of job insecurity on work-related attitude. The second one, impact on employees' risk-taking behavior at workplace. The third one was the impact of employees' health complaints during isolation. And the final one is control variable. The first one, seeming job insecurity was marked as one of the most stressful moments in the career of every employee. Usually, job insecurity was negatively associated with job satisfaction and motivation, leading to undesirable employees' behavior and responses. Research done before and throughout the crisis, like Great Depression, shows that job insecurity was significantly increased, while job satisfaction was reduces. The global crisis caused by COVID-19 certainly changed the perception of usual job insecurity and placed it to the extreme level due to inability to predict the duration and strength of the crisis. The second point, during the COVID-19 pandemic, after the healthcare practitioners, the next level of highest risk occupation was a variety of job position in tourism and hospitality sector. It is expected that increasing risk-taking behavior at workplace during pandemic will decrease job motivation and job satisfaction among hospitality workers, while it will increase their turnover intentions too. The third point, the impact of COVID-19 highlighted that isolation subsidized to the feeling of loneliness, pessimism, anger, and confusion, resulting in higher blood pressure, reduces life satisfaction, or even cause mental deterioration. Going back to the work after the absence due to an illness or some other problems was mostly seen as a way to increase employees' quality of life as some type of therapy, and the workplace give employee to seen in normality upon return. It is expected that the health problem occurred during isolation caused by COVID-19 will not reflect negatively on job motivation and job satisfaction. The final point, that means the control variables, age and gender positively related to job satisfaction and job motivation. Younger employees in hotel industry showed higher organizational commitment that affected turnover intention into the reverse direction. At the same time, the female voluntary turnover rate may be lower compared to males. Married employees were less likely to develop turnover intention compared to unmarried employees, since married employees had more responsibility than the unmarried one. They have social responsibilities as well as the family responsibilities, including financial responsibilities also. Finally, the significance of gender, age, and marital status was taken into consideration when analyzing the effect of COVID-19 on work-related attitude and turnover intention. Methodology. The data used in this study were collected among employees in the hospitality industry in Siberia. The sampling procedure was done in March and April 2020. During the most of the countries, including Siberia, were affected by the pandemic caused by COVID-19. Total of 624 questionnaires were received. The respondents came from a wide range of organizations, such as accommodation sector, travel agencies, restaurants, transportation, agencies for event and conference. The percentage we are showing here, and eventually 79% of respondents were from the frontline employees. The other thing, demographic information. We have segregated all the information responders in age variants. That means 39% for responders from age 31 to 40 and 36% responders from age 41 to 50. In terms of gender, 59% were female and 44% were male. In terms of marital status, 61% were married and 34% were single. The methodology. Point 2. Research instruments. 3 variables were marked as possible outcomes and dependent variables. Variable number 1, that is job motivation. Second one, job satisfaction. And third one, turnover intention. Work motivation was measured by 6 selected items for a scale developed by Mr. War and Linde in order to express the extent to which respondents will be personally motivated to work at the present job after the pandemic. Methodology number 3, that means the data analysis. The data analysis was done by using the statistical software package called SPSS22. Job insecurity, risk-taking behavior, and fairness or organization changes correlated negatively with job motivation, job satisfaction, and turnover intention, while employees' health during isolation was negatively correlated with the job motivation. Both of the components of the work attitude, job motivation and job satisfaction, were related with the turnover intentions in a negative direction. Finally, control showed that gender did not have negative correlation with any of the proposed variable, while marital status and age created negative correlation with job insecurity, and turnover intention plus age was correlated with risk-taking behavior in a negative direction. Finally, the results. Only job insecurity and fairness of organization change shows that predict job motivation significantly, both in the negative direction, while risk-taking behavior did not have a significant impact. This indicates that insecure job in tourism caused by COVID-19 will have a negative impact on job motivation, while changes in the decrease of job motivation, on the other hand, risk-taking behavior will not have a significant impact on job motivation, probably because employees believe that these measures are not temporary or are not permanently, so it's a temporary only. In table 2 shows that the 2 effects of COVID-19 were direct predictor of job motivation when the significance of age was accounted in step 2. Although the amount of the explained variance of the effects of marital status on the job motivation decreases in step 2. The total 3 that in the table 3, job insecurity, risk-taking behavior, and the fairness of organizational changes shows that the predict job satisfaction significantly in a negative direction. This suggested that the perceived insecurity continues of work. Threats that company can be also temporary or even permanently caused off to COVID-19. That in table 4 shows that in the second step, the regression model of turnover intention marked the 2 effects of COVID-19, job insecurity and fairness of organizational changes as predictor when the significance of age and marital status were accounted for. Finally, the discussion and the conclusion. The negative correlation between job insecurity and job satisfaction pointed to a fact that if the employee do not feel secure about the future of their job, it will cause a lower level of job satisfaction. The changes that occur in the organization due to COVID-19 proved to be strong predictor of work-related attitude. The majority of these who remains on their workplace did not perceive organizational changes as fair, and they felt that their status within the organization would change. If the control variable were taken into consideration, age and marital status showed to have significant impact on job motivation and turnover intention. The result indicate that older participants, that means those who are 40 plus aged and employees with families, do not have such a clear intention to leave the organization and were more motivated compared to younger or single employees. Result also shows that the older employees will be more motivated to work after the pandemic is over. Thank you, Miss, for having me and giving me the time for, and also thanks for extending my submission hour. Hope this pandemic will go soon, and inshallah, the world will get his older face again. With that note, I would like to finish my presentation. Thank you.